We left off page 35. Okay, we're on page 35. Okay. Hitil tzitzis, fourth line on the left side. Al tzitzis. Let's say a person had tzitzis on the four corners, and he ties another tzitzis on one of the corners that tzitzis already exists. So he has two tzitzis on the same corner. Im niskavim levatel rishona. If when he added the second tzitzis, he had in mind to negate the first. We'll see in a moment. Chotech rishona ksheru. So he intended not to keep the first one on. He puts the second one, and he has in mind he's going to take off the first. Chotech rishona ksheru. He cuts off the second one, the first one, and it's kosher. Vim niskavin lohosif. Now this is interesting. What about he wanted to have 5 tzitzis on the four corner of the garment, 2 on the same corner. So that means when he made the second, it was done in a state of what? Of Yisro. You'd say it's mitzvah b'avera. You know, you're not permitted. It's bal tosif. Alpi shechotach achas mishtem psula. Even if he cuts off the first, either one, it's possible. Because the second one invalidated the first, and the second, if he intended to add, is not a valid. It's not valid tzitzis.
All tzitzis is valid.
What? I'll go. 1 second. So according to the Mechaber, since he intended to violate when he made the 5th tzitzis, which is Bal Tosef, the second one is possible. He says even the first one is possible. Because since he invalidated the garment, even though when the first 4 were made, they were made in the state of kashrus, was only he did something later, the Mechaber says even the first one is possible. Same thing, all 4, the one we had 2 had no different than any of the other corners.
So if he removes the one, the extra one?
It's all according to Mechaber, it's possible because he intended to have 5 tzitzis on the garment, which are not permitted. So the whole garment, the tzitzis on the garment were invalidated.
So if he didn't have intent, he just made a mistake.
He says no. If he had in mind, he's adding a 5th, and he had in mind he's going to remove the 4th. So therefore, he never intended extra. So the second one's kosher, and let's say after he decided he's going to take off the 5th, the garment never had relevance to Bal Tosef. So everything's kosher. Hagov yesh machshirin b'chol inyan. Others say no. What? Others say that it's kosher, that the 5th is kosher, and if you choose to cut off the 5th and leave the 4, they're all 4 are kosher. V'chein yikar. And Ramos says that's the primary opinion. No, I mean, you have to, see, the first 4, I understand why for that. The original, I understand why. Just because you had in mind to add, it's the first 4 were made kosher. 5th, I understand that's mitzvah b'avera. Mitzvah b'avera, it's not valid. The tzitzis were not made properly. Correct? So you get no credit. It doesn't. Where was it? Kodesh echotach rishonos. But he says, but even the Ramos says, if you cut off any of them and you're left with 4, it's kosher. Kodesh echotach rishonos possible chalinyan. Let's say the person wants to wear the garment with 5 tzitzis on it. Everybody agrees it's possible. They're only arguing if you cut off one of them and you end with 4, is it a valid garment? Personal no, it doesn't bother me so much. Let's see. No, bother me more. It's seemingly it's mitzvah b'avera. How could the 5th one be kosher? Right? How could the 5th one? Let's see the Mishna Berura.
How about if you buy a talus with 5 and you cut off 1?
It's not up to you who buy it. Who made the tzitzis originally? Who put the 5th one on?
We don't know, but
again,
he found a talus with 5 and he cut 1 off. Is that valid?
It's the same. We're getting involved in the question over here. If the intent of the person when he put the 5th one is to add, so it's a Savik Doraisa. According to the Mechaber, it's Savik Doraisa, it's not valid. According to Ramor, it's not a problem. Even if he did intend, you just cut one of them off and you're okay.
If you put 3 hadassim on a lulav, does that make the whole all?
No, as long as it's the same species. Because the Torah says minimally you have to have 3 or whatever it is. Here the Torah says 4. It's 4 and not 5. Right? It's based on a pasuk. You could have 20 haravas in that lulav. You could have 20 hadassim. It's kosher. Because there the Torah says the minimum. Minimally you have to have so many, but you could add as many as you.
Here is the maximum.
Here the Torah says maximum 4 and not 5, and 4 and not 3. That's what Torah says. Okay? Harishon Chof. Efshe davke nokar avodim chotach hashnios posel. See Chof. Yeah. Chotach harishon kshero. Says if he had in mind to negate the what, the first, it's kshero. Efshe davke nokar avodim chotach hashnios posel shvar bitel rishonos. B'chol inyan, hainu bein sheskaven levatol niskaven lehosiv, bein shchotach rishonus hashnios. The Rama says either way, even the one you added is kosher, and the original ones are also kosher, as long as you cut off one of them. As long as you have just one on each corner, it's fine. Chen ikar, and that's the primary opinion. Chen posku achronim. Lamed. Yeah.
You can't use it with 5.
Can't use it with 5. That's what he says. If you have 5, everybody agrees it's possible. But if you cut off the one of the 2 that's on the same corner, it's reinstated. And you could even use the 5th as what? As the 4th. Even though initially you intended to add the 5th. Which was a Torah violation. That's Baltosif.
Cut off one of those 2, you're saying.
You cut off one of the 2, and even if you leave the second, it's still kosher, the Ramos says. Nokar rishonos, the koi al mashkosav shulchan aruch mitchil chodech rishonos, kosav v'kodem shechotech rishonos, avobems l'rosh paskin kavose, chotech rishnios kosher, od isa beis Yosef. You don't have to cut off. He says kolshkein. He says definitely if you cut off the one you added, definitely it's kosher. It's reinstated because the original 4 were made kosher. But the Rama is saying even if you leave the 5th one and you cut off the original one, it's still kosher. But again, how do we understand it? Well, it was made b'psul, right? It was made in a state that it was not kosher, it wasn't valid.
The 3, if you want to add the 4th, it's no good. That's what you said.
You had 4.
Well, you had 3.
No, we're speaking. You had 4.
No, I understand it. I'm just saying, if you had 3.
And then where did you add the 4th? Which?
And there was a 3-cornered garment. He put
No, that's understood because the garment's not obligated.
No, then he cut a corner to make it a 4th corner.
Okay.
And then he puts a tzitzit in the 4th corner.
The 4th corner.
It's no good.
Why is it no good? Not because of the 4th, because of the first 3.
Because of the first 3.
Okay.
Because it wasn't.
It wasn't a garment that was obligated. Here, this garment's obligated. It's a 4-cornered garment. And originally he had 4 tzitzis, 1 on each corner. He added a 5th to one of the corners. So one of the corners has 2 tzitzis. And he added with mind that he wants this 4-corner garment should have 5 tzitzis. Everybody agrees when it has the 5th, it's possible. You're not permitted to wear it. It's considered you wearing a 4-corner garment without tzitzis.
It's Baltosif.
Because of Baltosif.
Okay.
The real question is...
So what do you do to correct it? So what happens if you cut off the 4th and leave the 5th? Ramos says it's kosher. So we're asking, why should it be kosher? Right, that's the difficulty. And even if you cut off the 5th and leave the 4, since it was invalidated, it should be taslo ben osui. It was in the state of not kosher. Now it's being reinstated.
It's not. All the tzitzis are kosher individually, right? They're all kosher tzitzis. So when you cut off one of them, it reinstates the beged to tzitzis beged.
But what about? Let's first talk about the 5th. Let's say he leaves the 5th on. He cuts off the 4th. The 5th was made b'psul. The 5th is baltosif. You weren't permitted to add the 5th.
Right, but it's still a kosher tzitzis. It changes the whole beged.
Wait a second. When he made that 5th tzitzis, was it an avera?
Yes.
Okay, so that's mitzvah. Why isn't that mitzvah b'avera? Mitzvah b'avera has no value, right? So it shouldn't be valid. So how could it validate the garment?
It invalidated the garment.
No. It invalidated, but now that he cuts off the 4th and leaves that 5th one.
Right.
That 5th one, was it made in the state of psul or was it made in the state of kosher? And psul.
You said it, there's no l'shem mitzvahs tzitzis. If he's adding a fifth, then he can't have the right of 10, because he knows it's wrong. You said you had to have l'shem mitzvahs tzitzis.
He had it in mind. We have a principle, mitzvah b'aver is not considered a mitzvah. Without having it in mind, he had it in mind, it's irrelevant.
Rabbi,
Let's say he
it
found a
didn't
more
it didn't
beautiful
puzzle
string.
that tzitzis, it puzzled the whole garment. So it's not like it puzzled that particular tzitzis, the whole garment is puzzled. So when you take off one of those 4 of the 5, the garment then returns back to a kosher garment.
The garment is obligated in tzitzis. When you add the fifth, the garment is obligated in tzitzis.
Correct.
If you don't want to wear with 5, why don't you permit it to wear with 5? Because it doesn't have tzitzis. The garment does not have tzitzis. Because tzitzis means 4 and not 5.
Okay, fine.
So there was never a problem with the garment. No, but it was never a problem with the garment. The garment is always obligated in tzitzis.
Right.
But when you add the fifth, it invalidated all 4. Because now you have 5.
Now you cut off the fifth. So the rest of the world is kosher tzitzis.
If you have a computer writing a Sefer Torah, you know, to the rest of the world, you don't know, but reality wasn't written.
I'm just saying, I live in Israel, I don't have a computer mind to say it's 5 kosher instead of 4. It's kosher to go. Right?
Could I ask you a question? You have a brain, and you're not a neurologist. You have a brain that works, but you don't understand your brain. So how does your brain work? That's what you tell me. If it's kosher, it's kosher. Do I understand how many parchments I have in the tefillin sharosh? It's irrelevant what you understand. Facts that it's kosher, it works. That's it. Functions.
Well, shouldn't this question on the 5 and the 4 turn on the order in which you put them on? So, you have a 4-corner garment. He has to do this in sequence. He has to put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right? Now, if he puts the first 4, 1 in each corner, he arrives at a place after putting on the 4th, but before the 5th, where this garment is now good.
Correct.
Now he adds a 5th. So if he adds the 5th and then cuts off that 5th that he added, I can understand why the thing should be
Maybe.
valid.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
But when he did it, if he put 2 in the first corner, and then 3 and 4 and 5, then the thing was never valid. There was
Correct.
never a
Correct.
situation
Correct.
where the
Correct.
thing was
Correct.
valid.
Correct.
Then if he cuts one off, I have the question, why should it be valid?
Correct.
I see a different case here.
But if you understand why, if you cut off the 4th and you leave the 5th, the Rama says even that is valid. That's the equivalent case of what you're speaking about. It's the exact same case, right? Why is the 5th any different than your case? You cut off the 4th and you leave the 5th on. When he added the 5th, definitely the 5th wasn't valid. And he says, nevertheless, it's valid.
That's also different.
Same thing. It's the exact
In
same.
this situation, you'd have to cut the 1 off that had the corner that had 2.
No, that's the one you
If
cut
you
off.
cut off 1 from a
No, it's not going to help you. No, that's not going to help you because you can't have 2 on the same corner.
Rabbi, if you have four tzitzis, it's kosher. If you have 5, it's not. Cut off one of those, you have 5, now it's kosher again. It doesn't matter which tzitzis you cut off.
It doesn't
Why would it matter?
because the 5th was made bipsul.
But it puzzled the garment, it puzzled the tzitzis. You can't use that tzitzis. So take it off, take one of those off, and now you have 4 again. It's the number 4. It's not the individual tzitzis that you put on.
Not true. I was thinking like this. We rule that tzitzis is chovas gavra, not chovas mona. You're obligated only to put tzitzis on a garment that you wear, not if you possess a 4-corner garment. Correct? No, that's when the obligation. When you wear it, you have to have tzitzis on the garment. But if you're not going to wear it, you could have a 4-corner garment without tzitzis. It's not a problem. You have a tablecloth, although it could be used as a shirt, and it's 4 corners. Doesn't make a difference. You have no obligation. It's only if you wear it. So now, when he put the 5th tzitzis on the corner, right? He wasn't in violation of Baal Tosef. He was only violating Baal Tosef when he's going to wear it. So the actual making of the tzitzis, maybe he's not mitzvah b'aveira. Maybe it only becomes a problem when you put it on. So therefore, even if he leaves the 5th, so the actual making is not when he actually tied it to the corner. he wasn't in violation. Maybe if when he was wearing it, let's say he put this while he was wearing it,
Yeah.
and he put a fifth one on, then he's in violation of Altosi. Then that's mitzvah b'aveira. When you made the tzitzis were possible tzitzis. So then it's not going to help you. You can't, that fifth tzitzis you can't use. But if he made it, he wasn't wearing the tzitzis. He's not in violation of anything. He's only in violation of Altosi when he puts it on. So now if he puts it back to 4, even if he leaves the fifth, it's valid.
I'm not sure. Why when he's wearing it, what's the
But
difference?
We've said
That's
you have to have
confusing.
lishmo when you make these tzitzis.
Okay.
And that's a different concept. It's not just the garment. I mean, we've said lishmo is a critical piece of these tzitzis.
Correct.
That's regardless of whether you're wearing it.
No.
Just to make it. To make
You
it.
have to make it lishma for the sake of tzitzis if you want to wear it. If you want to wear it.
So now, if you put 5 on, where is the lishmo?
It's a mistake if you haven't worn it.
Okay. But it's not a mitzvah b'aveira.
No,
It's
fine.
a new
So
question.
where's
Correct?
Where's the lishmo?
Alan asked that before. It's not lishma. Correct? Okay, let's see if they use
Maybe
it.
a fifth corner to your